In Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions, Judith Butler presents several main arguments regarding the performative nature of gender and how individuals can subvert traditional gender norms. Here are some of the key arguments along with examples. Performativity of gender. Butler argues that gender is not an inherent or fixed quality but is rather performed and enacted through repeated actions and behaviors. Gender identity is constructed through these performances, which are shaped by cultural norms and expectations. For example, the way individuals dress, speak, and behave can all contribute to the performance of their gender identity. Butler's famous example involves drag performances, where individuals exaggerate and parody gender roles to demonstrate the performative nature of gender. Subversion of gender norms. Butler suggests that individuals have the agency to subvert or disrupt traditional gender norms through their performative acts. By engaging in behaviors that challenge conventional gender expectations, individuals can call attention to the constructed nature of gender and open up possibilities for alternative expressions of identity. One example of this subversion is the concept of gender bending, where individuals deliberately blur or defy traditional gender categories through their appearance or behavior. This might involve a person assigned male at birth wearing traditionally feminine clothing or makeup as a form of self-expression. Power dynamics. Butler also highlights the role of power in the performance and regulation of gender. She argues that certain performances of gender are privileged and normalized within society, while others are marginalized or stigmatized. This unequal distribution of power shapes the way gender is performed and enforced, with those who deviate from norms facing social sanctions or discrimination. An example of this power dynamic can be seen in the way transgender individuals often face discrimination or violence for challenging traditional gender norms and identities. Fluidity and contingency. Finally, Butler emphasizes the fluid and contingent nature of gender identities. Rather than being fixed or stable, gender identities are subject to change and variation over time. This recognition of gender as fluid allows for greater flexibility and openness in how individuals understand and express their identities. An example of this fluidity is the growing recognition of non-binary and genderqueer identities, which challenge the binary conception of gender as strictly male or female. These arguments form the foundation of Butler's critique of traditional understandings of gender and identity, offering a framework for understanding how gender is constructed, performed, and subverted within social contexts. Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions, by Judith Butler is an essay that challenges conventional notions of gender identity and expression. Here's a synopsis of the essay from beginning to end. Introduction to Performativity. Butler begins by introducing the concept of performativity, which suggests that gender is not an inherent or biological trait but is rather performed and enacted through repeated actions and behaviors. She argues that gender is a social construct that is continually produced and reproduced through everyday practices. Performative acts. Butler explores the idea of gender as a series of performative acts, drawing attention to the ways in which individuals do gender through their behavior, speech, and appearance. She uses examples such as drag performances to illustrate how gender is constructed through these acts of repetition. Subversion and disruption. Building on the concept of performativity, Butler discusses the potential for subverting and disrupting traditional gender norms. She argues that individuals have the agency to challenge and resist dominant gender conventions through their performative acts. This can involve acts of gender bending or other forms of nonconformity. Power dynamics. Butler examines the role of power in shaping the performance and regulation of gender. She highlights how certain performances of gender are privileged and normalized within society, while others are marginalized or stigmatized. This unequal distribution of power influences the way gender is performed and enforced. Resistance and agency. Despite the constraints imposed by power dynamics, Butler emphasizes the agency of individuals to resist and subvert dominant gender norms. She suggests that acts of resistance can open up possibilities for alternative forms of gender expression and identity. Fluidity and contingency. Finally, Butler considers the fluid and contingent nature of gender identities. She argues that gender is not fixed or stable but is subject to change and variation over time. This recognition of gender as fluid allows for greater flexibility in how individuals understand and express their identities. Throughout the essay, Butler offers a critical analysis of gender as a social construct and calls attention to the ways in which individuals can challenge and transform dominant gender norms through performative acts of resistance and subversion. Her work has had a profound influence on feminist and queer theory, reshaping our understanding of gender identity and expression. Let's delve into an analysis of Judith Butler's Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions. Deconstruction of Gender Essentialism. Butler's essay serves as a significant deconstruction of the notion of gender essentialism. By positing gender as performative rather than innate or biologically determined, Butler challenges the traditional understanding of gender as a fixed and immutable characteristic. This deconstruction allows for a more nuanced understanding of gender identity and expression. The power of performative acts. Butler emphasizes the power of performative acts in shaping and maintaining gender norms. Through her analysis, she highlights how individuals do gender through their everyday actions and behaviors, contributing to the continual reproduction of gender identities. This perspective sheds light on the ways in which power operates through social practices and interactions. Agency and resistance. Despite the constraints imposed by dominant gender norms, Butler acknowledges the agency of individuals to resist and subvert these norms through performative acts of resistance. By engaging in behaviors that defy traditional gender expectations, individuals can challenge the status quo and open up new possibilities for alternative forms of gender expression and identity. Intersectionality. While Butler primarily focuses on the performative nature of gender, her analysis also intersects with other axes of identity, such as race, class, and sexuality. She acknowledges that individuals experience intersecting forms of oppression and privilege based on these intersecting identities, which further complicates the performative construction of gender. Critique of power dynamics. Butler's analysis includes a critical examination of power dynamics in relation to gender. She highlights how certain performances of gender are privileged and normalized within society, while others are marginalized or stigmatized. This unequal distribution of power influences the way gender is performed and enforced, reinforcing existing hierarchies and inequalities. Fluidity and contingency. Butler's recognition of gender as fluid and contingent challenges binary conceptions of gender as strictly male or female. By acknowledging the variability and multiplicity of gender identities, Butler opens up space for greater inclusivity and recognition of diverse experiences and expressions of gender. Overall, Butler's Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions offers a groundbreaking analysis of gender as a performative and socially constructed phenomenon. Her work has had a profound impact on feminist and queer theory, reshaping our understanding of gender identity, expression, and power dynamics within society. Judith Butler's essay, Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions, has had significant relevance, legacy, and impact within the fields of feminist theory, queer theory, and gender studies. Here's a breakdown of its significance. Relevance. Butler's exploration of gender as performative remains highly relevant in contemporary discussions surrounding gender identity and expression. The concept of performativity continues to inform scholarly research, activism, and public discourse on topics such as transgender rights, non-binary identities, and the politics of gender representation. Legacy. Butler's essay is a cornerstone of her broader body of work, particularly her influential book, Gender Trouble. Together, these works have left a lasting legacy within feminist and queer theory, challenging traditional understandings of gender and identity and inspiring generations of scholars, activists, and artists. Contribution to theory. Butler's analysis of performativity has made a significant contribution to feminist and queer theory by deconstructing essentialist notions of gender and highlighting the ways in which gender is socially constructed and enacted through everyday practices. This theoretical framework has influenced a wide range of interdisciplinary fields, including sociology, cultural studies, and critical theory. Impact on activism. Butler's work has also had an impact beyond academia, informing activism aimed at challenging gender-based discrimination and oppression. Her emphasis on the performative aspects of gender has inspired new approaches to activism, including forms of protest and resistance that seek to disrupt traditional gender norms and hierarchies. Intersectional analysis. Butler's essay contributes to an intersectional understanding of gender by acknowledging the ways in which gender intersects with other axes of identity, such as race, class, and sexuality. This intersectional analysis has helped to broaden the scope of feminist and queer theory, highlighting the complex and interconnected nature of systems of oppression and privilege. Opening new perspectives. Through her critique of power dynamics and her recognition of the fluidity and contingency of gender, Butler's work has opened up new perspectives and possibilities for thinking about gender identity and expression. Her emphasis on agency and resistance has empowered individuals to challenge dominant gender norms and advocate for more inclusive and equitable representations of gender within society. In summary, Judith Butler's Bodily Inscriptions, Performative Subversions, continues to be a foundational text in feminist and queer theory, with a lasting impact on scholarship, activism, and public discourse surrounding gender and identity. Judith Butler is a prominent philosopher, gender theorist, and critical thinker known for her groundbreaking contributions to feminist theory, queer theory, and political philosophy. Here's an overview of her background and work. Early life and education. Judith Butler was born on February 24, 1956, in Cleveland, Ohio, USA. She earned her bachelor's degree in philosophy from Yale University in 1978 and went on to pursue graduate studies in philosophy at Yale and at the University of Paris. Academic career. Butler's academic career has included teaching positions at various prestigious institutions, including Wesleyan University, George Washington University, and the University of California, Berkeley, where she has been a professor since 1993. She has held visiting appointments at universities around the world and is widely regarded as one of the most influential contemporary thinkers in the humanities. Key ideas and contributions. Butler's work spans a wide range of topics, but she is perhaps best known for her analysis of gender as performative. In her groundbreaking book, Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity, 1990, Butler argues that gender is not an inherent or fixed characteristic but is rather a socially constructed performance that is continually enacted and reproduced through everyday actions and behaviors. This concept of performativity has had a profound impact on feminist theory and has been widely debated and discussed in academic circles. Influence and impact. Butler's work has had a significant influence not only within academia but also in wider cultural and political contexts. Her ideas have informed activism around issues of gender and sexuality, particularly within LGBTQ+ movements. She has also contributed to debates on democracy, human rights, and social justice, drawing on her background in political philosophy and critical theory. Publications. In addition to Gender Trouble, Butler has authored numerous other books and essays, including Bodies That Matter, On the Discursive Limits of Sex, 1993, Undoing Gender, 2004, and Frames of War, When is Life Grievable? 2009. Her work is characterized by its interdisciplinary approach, drawing on insights from philosophy, literature, psychoanalysis, and cultural studies. Recognition and awards. Butler has received numerous awards and honors for her contributions to scholarship and activism, including the Theodor W. Adorno Award from the City of Frankfurt, Germany, and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation's Distinguished Achievement Award. She is also a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Overall, Judith Butler's work has had a transformative impact on our understanding of gender, identity, power, and social change, making her one of the most influential thinkers of our time. While Judith Butler's work has been highly influential and groundbreaking, it has also attracted criticism and debate. Here's a critical examination of some aspects of her work. Complexity and accessibility. One common criticism of Butler's writing is its complexity and dense theoretical language, which can make it inaccessible to a broader audience. Some argue that her dense prose and complex theoretical concepts may alienate readers who are not already familiar with the traditions of continental philosophy and critical theory. This has led to accusations of elitism and academic jargon, hindering the potential impact of her ideas outside of academic circles. Critique of essentialism. Butler's rejection of essentialist understandings of gender has been both praised and critiqued. While her emphasis on the performative nature of gender has been groundbreaking in destabilizing traditional notions of identity, some critics argue that it risks erasing the material realities and experiences of marginalized groups, particularly transgender and non-binary individuals. Critics suggest that focusing solely on the performative aspect of gender overlooks the ways in which individuals may experience gender dysphoria or seek medical interventions to align their bodies with their gender identities. Intersectionality and inclusivity. While Butler's work has contributed to an intersectional understanding of gender, some critics argue that it has not always sufficiently addressed the intersections of race, class, sexuality, and other axes of identity. Critics argue that her early work, in particular, may have focused too narrowly on gender to the exclusion of other forms of oppression and privilege. There have been calls for Butler to engage more explicitly with intersectional perspectives and to incorporate insights from critical race theory and other disciplines into her work. Political implications. Butler's work has been both praised and criticized for its political implications. While she is often associated with progressive and radical politics, some critics argue that her theories of performativity and subversion may be politically disempowering or depoliticizing. Critics suggest that by focusing on discursive practices and symbolic resistance, Butler's work may downplay the importance of material struggles for social justice and economic equality. There are also concerns that her emphasis on the contingency of identity may lead to a form of identity politics that is disconnected from broader political movements. Engagement with criticism. Some critics have accused Butler of being dismissive or unresponsive to critiques of her work, particularly from feminist and queer scholars who have raised concerns about its implications for transgender and non-binary communities. There have been calls for Butler to engage more directly with these critiques and to reflect on the potential limitations and blind spots of her own perspective. Overall, while Judith Butler's work has made significant contributions to feminist theory, queer theory, and critical philosophy, it is not without its critics. Engaging critically with her ideas and their implications is an important part of ongoing scholarly and political debates surrounding gender, identity, and social justice.